All right, welcome back to part two. So I'm continuing basically where I left off. I've done a little bit of file management off to the side. So here I do have my sketch concept and my inspiration set aside in a demo folder. So I'm going to leave that kind of off to the side for now, and we're going to continue with the rest of this. So I've got my logo right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. Well, I'm going to open up, copy it, start a new file. And I'm just going to drop this straight into this. Actually, I didn't check the settings. Let me look at the settings real quick. Let's change this to RGB. I wonder if I was working in RGB or in CMYK this whole time. Yeah, I was. Well, we'll just go with that. Okay, so concept. And then the logo. So this is in RGB. So again, I'm just going to do document setup, edit artboards, and I'm going to grab this corner, and I'm just going to bring it right down to the corner there, and then this side I'm going to kind of just let it snap to, it's not going to give me a snap. I'll just try and get it as close to the edge of the rest of the drawing as I can. So we'll go right there. I'm happy with that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So I've got this. This is my actual logo. So this one I'm going to save as logo. And then what I'm going to have you guys do, for those of you who didn't already show the process, I'm going to also have you save copies as PDFs for a lot of these things. And the reason why I don't want you dragging the Illustrator file or copying the artwork directly. I want you linking those files in the subsequent things. So that gets us through the concept and the logo. So the next step is to create a business card. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the settings here to inches. I'm going to change the width to 3.5 inches, height to 2 inches. I'm going to bump the artboards up to 2 here. And then I'm going to add, let's see, a 1/8 inch bleed, so 0.125 inches. This is going to be for print, so I'm going to change this to CMYK. Because it's for print, I'm also going to change this to high, or 300 ppi for raster effects. And we're going to be good with that. So I'm going to hit create. So now we have 2 spaces here that we're going to use. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to use this logo right here, I'm just going to drag this and drop it in. And you can see that there's actually a couple things that I might want to fix. Not all of these kind of got deleted, so I'm going to go back and fix that. One of the nice things about actually working in this manner is when I make changes here, they should automatically be applied to the other to the document that this is already in. So I'm just going to make a couple of these fixes here. Get that one. Okay, I think that was all of them. So I hit save, and when I go back to this window, so it already gives me this link saying, or this update saying some files are modified. Would you like to update them now? Yes. So when I get back in here, all those spots are now empty. So we'll leave that there, and then just double check, or just to make sure I've got that up to date, I'm also going to update the Illustrator file. Actually, I've got some other steps I need to do too. I need to outline my text. So I'll take the text, create outlines, and then I don't think I had anything. Yeah, nothing has strokes on it. So if you do have strokes in your document, this would be a great time for you to go in and outline those strokes. So if I had this right here, you'd want to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and then it should be good to go. If it's not, then you will have some issues. And just to reiterate, I know someone asked me in class this evening, why would you do this? So here's 2 basically identical rectangles. The one on the right here has the stroke outlined. If I shrink this down, like that, you can see that the stroke on this is overwhelming the stroke over here. And that's something you want to avoid, especially in my case, for example, I've dragged this logo in, but what if I immediately make the logo like this big? So that's what you want to avoid, is something like that. So I'll just delete that, and then I will save again and re-export as a PDF. I could probably improve that workflow, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. Okay, so save PDF. Okay. So nothing really should have changed there. All right, so I have this logo. There's a couple things to consider when you are preparing for print. Um, just to kind of briefly go over them. Sure. Okay. What when you're printing, you have this area right here. What this called is the bleed, and what that is. Let me get something to demo with real quick. All right, so I mocked this up real quick to show you guys what I was talking about. So here I've got the business card on the front. I just threw this green color on it, and then on the back I have this blue color here. What would happen when someone goes to print your design is they would export this a version of it that looks more like this. So these right here, these little lines, indicate that this is where the cut would happen. If you get business cards printed, there's not some like little business card printer that prints out one business card at a time. So what happens is they end up lining up a sheet like this. This is actually just an InDesign here that I loaded this in. Let me get this sized right. And you can see here, again, this is an example of InDesign downsampling. So if I change this to overprint preview, you can see again it's back to high resolution. And here are those marks, and these are cut marks. And so what will happen is once this gets printed, the person will line up the sheets so that they print correctly front and back. So on the opposite side would be the back of the card. And then it would go through a cutting process. And so they would line them up and then use this little registration mark here to cut this. So this would get cut along this line, and you can see that it lines up with all these across that way. And then they'd cut the other direction too, so you'd have other cuts here that would line up going vertically as well. So it would take a couple cuts to cut out a huge sheet of these, and you'd probably have, say, depending on the print size, anywhere from 5 to maybe 200 sheets. So this is how business cards would get generated. So when I talk about the bleed itself, let me close that. Let's get back to Illustrator. The bleed is this area past this black line right here. This black line is the area that would stay in your drawing. This is the art. Basically, this is the area inside of your artwork. The bleed is extra space outside because when that person is cutting, they're not gonna 100% get every single one right on this line, right? And so if you only have the color of your background or whatever it is to this point right here, they might cut a little bit on the other side of here. And so what you'd end up with is you'd be able to see kind of like these little white areas that are peeking out from behind here, right? So if the cut actually ends up being a little bit crooked, maybe they get that part right, but then, oops, I missed it. So maybe the cut ends up coming along here, right? And so there's just this sliver, and it might even be like that. Like I've seen it that narrow if it wasn't set up correctly. So, and you would notice this. You'd notice that little white sliver on the business cards. So what we do is we create this extra area around it called the bleed. And that's what this red line is designating. There's also a general recommendation where you wouldn't want to have artwork like right up against the edge here, and it's kind of the reverse of the bleed problem, where if my artwork is directly up against here and then they cut in, well, now I've got part of my logo getting cut off, in one direction or another. So typically a good recommendation is whatever the width of your bleed is, you also do that width into the document. And that's, did I get that right? I don't think I got that right. Let me see here. Oh, it's snapping. So typically it's just a good practice to do this, and the end result is again, if you have something really, say, really close right here to the edge here, really close to the edge right here, what ends up happening is if this skews even like a 64th of an inch or a 1/28th of an inch across this, then part of one of these things might get cut off. So it's just a generally good practice to keep all your artwork inside of this little margin here as well, right? So the bleed red area, don't draw any, or draw your backgrounds through. While you also want to avoid having any important information or artwork on the inset side of this line right here. So that's my kind of rambling rant on how to set up these. I'm going to get started on designing my business cards. And when I do that, I'm just going to kind of keep some of the themes that I've got going here. Um, so I'm going to put a rectangle across here. And again, I need to use my bleed, so I'm going to make sure I drop this down. I'll push this to the back of the card. And then I want to sample a color that I've got in my logo. And I might not go with it. I don't want to use this because it's too dark and it kind of already overpowers that. I'm not a huge fan of a large amount of this. That's probably, I can't use this, right? Because that kind of, can I not? Oh, that kind of looks good. No. So I'm going to try and keep it within the same color palette here a little bit. But I want something that I think is a little bit lighter, but not entirely kind of the same color there. And none of these are really working. So I'm just going to go with something. Oh, let me see. Do I want to go with a contrast? So we can do that. Kind of like, what if we did the oop, not that other way. Let's flip this to the other side. Yeah, I don't like how overpowering that is. So let me see if I can just find a slightly lighter color than this. Hmm. I'm not trying to go super yellow here. I'm happy with that. I think that's a good color. Yeah, it's got to be on the bottom. Do I want it overlaid? No. I think I'm just going to leave that there. So this will be the top half of my logo. And then, again, one of the things I asked you guys to include on here is going to be some information. So dividing up a business card in this way, kind of like not necessarily a straight half or 2/3, but kind of whatever works for the design. I might take that down a little bit, bump that up a little bit, and then we'll put we'll stick with the classics here. John Doe as the title, and then Mr. No, can't spell. Did I get that right? Why am I dyslexic right now? Let me double check. Never hurts to double check. Yep, that's it. I switched the A and the R. Something wasn't right. Okay. There we go. I can spell. All right. So we'll put in, and I'm just kind of working really quick here to get some of this text laid out. So I'm going to go with that right there. We've got our title and position, and then we'll come over here and I'll drop in the address. What did I tell you guys? 1234 something street in city name California, zip code 12345. We're all familiar, obviously, with this address. And then we also want to get some other contact information because this is a business after all. So we will come over here and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a phone number and www.thebreadfactory.com. So this gives us an idea of kind of what space we have for the different things here. Um, One of the things that I always recommend is do not go lower than 10-point font on anything that you are doing for print. And the reason behind that is just it's too small, right? You can go to people with good eyes can probably read down to like 8-point font, right? But let me zoom this out. That's 100% right there, right? So if I go much smaller than that, it gets really hard to read, and you don't want people don't want their contact information to be hard to discover on their business cards. So I'm gonna go with this right here as actually no. We're gonna mess around with this a little bit more. What I want to do now is I want to find a good font, and I don't recall which one I used for the logo, so let's go find out. Thankfully, because I have the concept file still saved, this is separate from the logo. I can find out this is source serif variable, so that lets me still reference that original logo. And if I have any major changes, especially if I hadn't done some of the or if I had issues I had to deal with on the stroke outlines, then I could go back to the original logo. So that's why I wanted you guys to keep a concept file around. But in this case, I can use this to look up the old font. So it was source serif variable. And so I'm trying to keep the font consistent with this. Otherwise, you could do something like something completely different. Go for a nice sans serif to um, contrast with the serifs that are going on. And when I say serifs, just to make sure everyone's on the same page here, serif are when you have these little dippy things sticking out. So the F in that looks like that, whereas this F doesn't have those, right? It doesn't have these little fancy things sticking off of it. So this is the difference between a sans serif and a serif font. Um, I'm pretty happy with this one. I think that looks pretty good, so I'm going to use this. Again, 10 point is the minimum I would do, and I'm actually going to bump this up to 12 for the whole thing, and then I'm going to come back and bump this up to 14 for the title, and if it's got a bold, I'm going to do a bold too. And that just kind of lets you, uh, give hierarchy to the things here. This it separates visually what's going on. And then the last step is I like to come in with a character field and just adjust the line height. I'm not always happy with the default, but this lets you kind of adjust the line height to kind of get it in the right spot. So I think, I don't remember where I started out at. Yeah, so there's kind of a big gap. Let me see here. I think I ended up with the same gap. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll keep going. So we have the other information down here, and obviously the problem that we're running into is that we don't actually have enough space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this and I'm going to move it back here to the back of the card. And so then over here again, if I wanted to, I could drag out these same rulers just to make sure that I'm working. Oh, we don't need that one again. Just to make sure that I'm working within the safe margins of this document here. Something else we can do is we can just pull this across so that we have a consistent like little border that's going on across here. And then let's put the address over here. And if it'll let us, we'll snap it to that other side. Oh, come on. There we go. So we'll snap that. I'm gonna line it up here so it's snapped to there. I'm gonna hold down Shift and press an arrow key, and it's gonna jump me 10 pixels. And that's a bit far, so I'm actually gonna come back 5 just by hitting the arrow key. So there's little ways that you can nudge it just so that you get consistent spacing here. Nice little thing that's kind of handy. All right, so we have a name, we have this, and then let's just put something that the restaurant does. So we're gourmet. I don't know. What do they say about bread? Let me find what they say about bread. Okay, So we're stealing right out of the search engine here. So we have the most, oh, actually let's change this to a text area here. The most flavorful bread. No. Oh, I don't like that. I should have read further. Purveyor of fine rustic breads using only local and regional uh, grain types. Cool. Okay, that's where we're super fancy bread shop. So let me adjust the font height here again. I just don't want it to be as tall as it was. I'm also going to drop this down a little bit in our area. Okay, so that just kind of fills that space nicely. Now the other thing I said that I was going to do is I set aside this little thing right here, and that was completely intentional, I promise. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in here, and I'm going to use it as a stylistic effect. So we did them kind of scattered throughout here, and something that kind of steps up a design when you have weird awkward spaces like this to fill is just dropping something like this in here, and I'm going to source it so that it looks kind of similar in color. And then if we just kind of do something where we make it kind of just pop a little bit, it fills in that space really nicely, right? I can also take it over here, and I could try and match it up actually on the other side here, but I don't like the idea of doing that. So what I'm going to do instead is we'll hang this one upside down, and then send it to the back and make it super, like, just it's a little tiny. I don't want it to interfere with the ability to read some of that text, right? So I'm just going to do that right there, and I'm not liking that, so I'm actually going to not do that. That's how design goes. So I'm just going to put it over here. I'm going to approximately push this to, let's go right there. That looks about even. I'm not going to bother measuring it. I mean, an alternative is we could take this and well, we could do the sprayer tool. Let me do the sprayer tool just to show you guys kind of how that could be used in a situation like this. We will sample that color. No, leave it that color. Let me get it to a better size. So something like that. Drag it in the symbols. Green thing. Graphic. Dynamic. Center. Oops. Centered. We were centered. Okay. Okay, so we can delete that. Go to our symbol sprayer and then just kind of spray a whole bunch of these out here. And it's a good way to just kind of do this. So we could do stuff like throw in a mask. So we could overlay this area right here, use this as a mask to limit the area that they show up in. So now they're only inside of this area right here, and then let's see, we could now let's try darkening them. So that's the stainer tool. I'll go with a darker color. Oops. Select the symbol set, stain. And then let's just move it a little bit. Actually, it needs to go to the back. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done this over the two areas. That was my mistake, actually. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's not bother with it. We tried. At least we said we'd try. Never hurts to try. Alright, so let me rotate this back. We'll just go with this. I think that was working. And that kind of gives us a nice balance right there. It's a little bland, and I think if I was going to incorporate one more thing, I'd do something like just another line across the top of here. Grab that as a good color, and then we'll just bring this across. Oh, let's bring it all the way across. Okay, so fairly simple. Just a really easy kind of card to put together there. We're going to continue this same sort of branding that I'm working on. So again, we're finishing up with the business card here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this, again, you should be using your first initial last name, but I'm just going to call this the DC and Illustrator first. I saved it as just something so I could mock up that proof demo. That's why I had when I was setting this. Actually, you know what? Hell, let's throw this as a PDF. And then let's update it so that it actually exports to here as well. Yes. So in this case, you guys don't have to do this, but trim and print. Yeah, cool. So then now that that's saved, this should update. It might take a minute. Window. Give me a minute and I'll force it. Okay, so here's what this would actually look like, just to go show you guys again what it would look like if it was set up for print. So again, the registration marks are still here. You can see down here, if this was cut, you'd still if it got cut along this way, you'd still have printable area. You wouldn't have to do as much of that going across on the top here. But having this all lined up like that, you can kind of see how this would get printed and then cut and turned into business cards. All right, so I just want to show you guys that. Trying to include some new stuff in some of these lectures. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and move on. So I can close that. We'll start a new file. So this will be our postcard. Inches. We'll do this 6 inches. Actually, let's do this 4 wide, 6 tall. Again, we will need 2 artboards. We'll keep the same bleed, CMYK high, and yeah. And then I will shamelessly steal, actually I shouldn't have closed it. I will shamelessly steal any artwork from the business card just to keep some of this same branding. So in that case, I'm just going to grab everything that's right here that I can select, and then we'll go back here. We can get rid of these, and because it's a postcard, we have a little bit more space, so we don't necessarily need to worry about this anymore, but for the sake of caution, I'm going to, that was too far. I'm going to throw these in here again, just to remind you guys that they exist. So I'm just dragging rulers out, holding down shift, you can see that it kind of snaps around. Pretty handy for putting up something temporary or a reference point. There we go. And we'll do the bottom. Oh, too far. Not far enough. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to keep a lot of this same branding. I'm just going to kind of change the size of things around here. So remember, I had this. What I told you guys, I think, was market the postcard. Typically, just it's easiest to say, hey, market a grand opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to carry over. I've got this here as the font that I can reuse. Move that right there. So I'm just going to isolate the logo here. I'm not going to get too crazy on drilling down in different like weird things and spend 2 hours kind of blowing this up. We'll just do this. So again, we'll keep the same branding of we're going to use this repetitively. If this was to be repeated for a whole architecture design, this might become a repeated element used throughout the rest of the project. because I grabbed the phone number and address, or the phone number and website, I'm actually going to go back and grab the phone number and address here. Okay, and then we'll jump back here. So now we've got the address and the phone number contact information. So we'll just leave those there on this side. We can get rid of the title. And then I'm going to pull this up here. And for the back, what we're going to do is we're actually going to reverse this. So again, I'm just using repeating elements, trying to keep the branding consistent here. And so then for this, you're in Vibes. Do another text area. Opening. We don't want that hyphenated. And then again, we'll want to sample what the original font family was. So source serif variable. Don't know why I couldn't remember that. It's probably in the top hints right here anyway. Oh, you know what would make this more fun? Because I do have these slants. Why wouldn't I just, like... Oh, what happened there? Oh, that's what happened. Okay. What if I just, like, tweaked it a little bit? No. Nope. We won't bother. Okay. So, keep it simple. People are watching. All right. So we'll just bump up the font size a little bit. Again, because that looks a little thin at the size. Oh, we didn't. Did we not change that? Okay. I'm gonna kind of bump the size up a little bit and just change this to. You've got a couple different sizes. I don't know if this has really been gone over, but typically things come in default at regular. You've got semi-bold, black, or semi-bold, bold, and black is usually like an extra bold. In this case, semi-bold is going to be just fine for our purposes. Again, I'll sample that color. And then for the rest of this, I don't want you guys like sitting there for 30 minutes thinking out like some speech to put in there. So just get some font, use the default sans serif. I'm going to change this to 12 point, and then we'll do this in regular, and then we'll just do like 2 text boxes. We'll align them to the left, then another text box. Oops. And then, no, right there. Okay. And then it never hurts to kind of just come into this too and do a couple little edits. It's mostly just I like to kind of break up the lines because lorem ipsum text just ends up kind of being kind of a wall of text sometimes. And then for this second part, why don't we hop into... I mentioned glyphs to you guys earlier, so what I'm going to do is we'll actually separate this out so we have a couple things that we can use as a bullet point list, and I'll just show you guys, just to cover it again, how we do that. So I hope I'm not making any insults in Latin right now. Okay, so we got that. So then, just to reiterate, we'll go to the glyphs menu here. It's this weird looking A, otherwise it's going to be under window, and no, it's always under the type. You guys probably can't see that, but under the type menu, there is a pop-out that says glyphs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through here, and I'm looking just for a bullet point. So I can create a bullet point list, so it's right there. I'll just move the cursor there, and then double-click on here, and I can bring that in. So once I've got that, I'll single space that one. That kind of feels right. And then I'll just go through and copy and paste this down the list. And then just to keep our decorative motifs going, we will copy this over as well. Again, I'll reflect it. I didn't do it on the business card. I'm not worried about it. Okay, so I can do that, or I can make it super big. Never hurts to go super big, and then go lighter. But this might be kind of hard to see, and especially when you get into really light areas like this, it either may show up or it may not. Um, and then I think I will actually bump up the line height. We'll leave that one alone. We've got high enough paragraph spacing. I just want to bump up this a little tiny bit higher. Having a little bit more space between lines usually makes it easier to read. And then let's actually center this if I can. So drop the width down and then see if it gives me a snap for the center. But there it is right there. Okay, great. So again, I don't want you guys to like just get bogged down super long on these secondary things. I just want you guys to work through the process, get everything set up. So this was our postcard, so we'll call this PC, save it, okay, and then we will go to PDF as well. Okay, so next we need a business card, or sorry, the web ad. So give me a minute, I'll get Photoshop loaded up. Okay, so I've got Photoshop up here. Let me start a new file. Okay, so just like with the previous ones, we're going to go ahead and set this to, well, actually, it's not going to be like the other ones because we're doing a web ad. So we're going to change this to pixels, and we're going to do 200 by 600. You can also do 600 by 200. It's going to be 72 pixels per inch because it's for screen, and we're going to change that to RGB. So pretty simple settings right there. We don't have to worry about too much. And then same process. I'm going to go back to my source folder, which is starting to get jam-packed with a bunch of stuff already. We're going to grab the logo, so I'm just going to drag this in here. Crop to, yeah, that should be fine. And we'll just move it over here. I'm double checking. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have. I'm pretty sure it has transparency, but I'm just going to double check by filling the background, and yes, it does. Okay. So step one, anytime you have a fixed background, double click on it. It'll give you this new layer 0 thing, and you can now hide or unlock your background. Typically not recommended, but we're just going to go with it. And then again, this one's going to be the fastest because there's not a lot to put in a web ad. You don't have a lot of space. If we reference 100% size, this is kind of what it is. It's hard to fit like a logo or much besides the logo in there. And for a couple of you, I was telling you guys, hey, watch out for your font sizes. Because if this was a web ad right here and your logo or your text ended up being that small, like you're not going to see that when this is off to the side of a website. So right here, font size looks pretty good. I'm going to leave that like that. Next thing I'm going to do is go back to the interwebs, and I'm just going to find a good image of bread. Okay, so here's the image I got. So we'll just shrink this down to a certain point, and I'm going to kind of have to mess around with it a little bit because I don't want to show the whole thing. I only want kind of part of this, but it's also a fairly vertical image for me. But it worked out well in my case because what I was looking for is something that I can kind of ignore the top part because I know what I'm going to do with that already. Nope, that's actually looking inappropriate. Let's not do that one. Back to the drawing board. Okay, back with another one. Let's try this one out. So, shrink that down. Again, anytime you're doing this, make sure that you are holding down Shift if the constraint option is not on. If the constraint option is on, you don't have to hold down Shift. I prefer having it off because I have old habits. So we've got this picture of bread now. I'm going to rock with this. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to apply that right there. I'm going to send this to the back layer. And then all I'm going to do is create another layer here. And what I want to have is just a transparency. I mentioned this earlier, but sometimes it's nice to have like a No, brain lost it. Classic gradient. Um, Sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. Never mind. Okay. So we'll go to this layer. If I do that, yeah, no, we don't want that. Basics. So we'll get this one here that has that. Anytime you see this kind of checkerboard pattern, you're looking at a transparency. So when I go to place this, I'm actually going to start kind of right here, and that'll ensure that I've got some sort of black area going on up at the top, because I just want to hide that beautiful walnut burl or whatever that is going on, unfortunately. So we're going to do that. And that kind of serves to make some of this pop. I don't necessarily, I can scale this still a little bit. Oh no, did I put that on the wrong layer? No, it's on the right layer. I did put it on the wrong layer, I think. We'll put it down again. Okay, so it kind of makes that pop. And then the last thing I might want to do here is I want to shrink this down a little tiny bit. I think it would look a bit better there. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I'd probably click on that or something. That looks delicious to me. Probably because I've been on keto for like a month and a half. All right, so oh, don't do that. So file, save as. Ugh. Okay. Let me figure out where I'm at. I have my demo folder. So this is going to be web add. Oop. Not PDF though. File, save. We want to save in native Photoshop format. So we're going to make sure this is on PSD. And then the other format I wanted you guys to save this in is a JPEG. So we'll do file. I believe for JPEG we have to export as. Give it a second or not. What's going on? Hello, computer. There we go. Okay. So set it to JPEG. Sliding scale. Typically, if you just like if you zoom in really hard, you can see like if I crank the scale up and down, you lose some quality there. Typically, as long as you don't go too low, and usually it means just kind of not past 50%, you're fine. You can see that if this is cranked up all the way, file size is 153 kilobytes. Good courtesy to make things as small as you can without affecting your resolution quality. Um, so if I kind of somewhere between a 4 and a 5, I'm not really seeing a difference there between 4 and 5, but as soon as I go to 3, I see a lot of degradation right there. So I can do either of those, and that jump from 4 to 5 is pretty significant, so I'm going to take that jump to 4. Um, this is just me being super pedantic about it, though. So, happy with that. JPEG settings, export, and then again, this is web add as a JPEG. So, where do we go next? Where is this? Okay, so that gets us presentation is the next step. So I do still have InDesign open. So we'll go ahead and close that. Close that. New. Um, so back to the settings, inches. We're looking at, what did I say, 11 by 17. One page. It should default to, and here's actually, this is including margins on the inside here. Don't worry about bleed because we're not really printing these, but it should just basically be whatever you've got going on. So we'll create that and load this in, and then all I'm going to do is just go over here to this library of files I've created. I'm just going to start slinging them in. So we've got the not that one. We've got our logo, so we'll drag the logo in first. We've got the. Why does that have? Ugh, I hate you, Microsoft. Stop this. Oh, right. So there's a step that you need to do when you're importing Um, importing double-sided things. Give me a second to just pull this up so I don't waste your guys' time. Okay, I figured it out. It was okay. So if you want to get the second page, you need to go to File, Place, and then that's milestone 2. That's what kept tripping me up as a milestone 2 demo. All right, so I have the business card. Make sure that this box right here, Show Import Options, is turned on, and then we're gonna hit OK. And then it's gonna actually let me change that, and then I'm gonna change it to the art. No, not the art. The crop, trim. There we go. So I'm going to make sure that that stays there, and we do not want a transparent background because otherwise I'd have to go in and fill that, and it's just kind of an extra step. So we're going to get, let's do all. I think this lets us place them sequentially. So we got 1 and 2. So we'll get rid of this one here, and then we will repeat. Why? Why? Why do you do that in design? We'll repeat that same process. So place, we will again, that should be checked for good now, but we'll go to postcard. We will get all the pages or range, doesn't matter. Trim. Cool. Place and place. And then we will need our sketch in here as well. So I'll place that. And then some of this we're just going to have to shrink down. So let me just double check I've got everything here. Oh, we need the web app. That's what I'm missing. So let's grab that JPEG. And so yeah, I'm gonna have to shrink a couple of these things down. I'm gonna kind of give priority to these print things and trying to keep them the same size. That's just kind of a personal preference though. Just kind of whatever you do, if you shrink like one side of the business card, like don't do the, oops, don't do that where you just end up like shrinking one side of a thing and not both sides. So I'm gonna just take this, no, control. Did I? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna shrink the logo down and have it kind of be about the same size as the source there. So we will, and this already put the margin in, but again, we're not printing this, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Here's my front and back for the postcard. Here's my front and back for the, or sorry, front and back for business card, front and back for postcard, and then we've got the web ad here. So I'm just going to make the postcard smaller. So it's about the same size as the business cards width-wise. And then we can make the web ad a little bit smaller too. Nope, I keep forgetting to hit control. And then I keep forgetting to hit shift too. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that. I think I can fit these in real nicely, kind of in a row on the bottom. So if I just nudge that over a little bit, and then I'm gonna, it's unfortunate that they're all not the same height, but I can work with that. So instead of labeling on the bottom, I'll actually use this as an opportunity to label in the top corner instead. And then one other thing I want you guys to do when you're working on this, again, don't mind this part right here. This is just my OCD taking over. What I want you guys to do, and it's something that just kind of helps, especially with business cards like these, where you have a white border and nothing really defining where the edge is. What I want you to do is just click on the thing, and then, let's see. Oh, where did it go? Window, effects. Click on the little FX, and we'll do a drop shadow. And then I think we should only have to set this once because it automatically inherits it. But we want just kind of the smallest little value right there. And smallest offset, actually no offset. Just do that right there. Drop this to 50-ish. And so that gives us kind of a defined border around this business card without encroaching on the artwork. So again, drop shadow, and it should inherit. Nope, of course it doesn't. Why would we do that? Effects, really? Let me see if I can. Nope. That's one thing I like about Photoshop is you can inherit things from the other thing. So we'll just do this manually. So again, drop shadow. Yeah. What do we say? 50% here. Fairly narrow. None. None. Cool. So for the business cards and the postcard, I will do that. Again, it just kind of makes it easier to define where the edges on unhighlighted areas are. Okay, so there we've got those. We will move the postcards to right about here. We will see if we can keep this in line because that's about the same width, but I don't think it's gonna. No, we'll just again we'll just hold down shift and bump that out 3 times. And then I move them down so because I'm going to move them back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here to place a text box, click and drag rather. And then we're going to call this, actually we'll swap them. So this will be my logo design. Let's get some good font settings in here before I carry on. So we'll bump this up to, again, this is slightly larger because it's 11 by 17. So I'm just going to put logo design here. Actually, we'll leave that wide. So we'll put that there. And I'm just going to match these up, let it snap into that corner. Concept, logo design. And so I'm going to try and just space this out evenly around all of these. But lining up to that corner. Actually, why don't I just put it there and then jump it up 10. So be consistent when you do this. It's like the smallest step in the world to just make sure that these are all kind of correctly or similarly aligned to other things. So this will be our business card front. Copy over, business card, back. This is our postcard. It's not like that though, huh? Because it's like that. That's the way. Why? Why do we do this? Why do I do this? Okay, back. And this is our web ad. All right. So we've got everything labeled, and now that we've done that, I'm just going to shift everything back up to the top for, again, OCD reasons. And then if I really, really, really wanted to get fancy, I'd come back in here, I'd grab this guy, and where'd it go? There it is. I'd probably just do one of these, like super light in here somewhere. Again, kind of continuing the motif that we had. Move to the back. Maybe do another one here that's not as tilted and slightly smaller. Just to kind of fill up some of that white space. Let's make this not that. God, I hate it when it does this. Can we just sample the color right there? Oh, let's sample that one. That makes sense. And then pull that down just a tiny bit, and we'll call this project one. Oops. We'll call this project one presentation because that's what this is. Okay, and let's just jump this font up to 30. Looks good to me. Okay, so again, don't get bogged down in little details. I'm looking for broad strokes here on this project. Just put a nice presentation board together. Don't make it completely blank. Make sure you've got labels on there. This we will save as. Again, milestone 2 is tripping me up here. So this is presentation. And then once we're done with that part, we will export as a PDF for print. So, sure, I don't even want to get into those settings. Okay, so that should be everything. If we look at the folder now, we have a whole mess of files. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plus the inspiration. Right now I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What's extra? Is it because this is still open? Probably. Or did I leave one off my list? Oh no, there we go. 13. What did I say before? Oh, I have 13 because I have this weird demo thing that I put together. So that's why I have extra. So you guys won't have this one. But this is generally what I'm looking for. You guys should have your inspiration in this folder. And then your native files, so your Illustrator or Photoshop. What are you? Why do I have it untitled? Ugh. Rename this to web ad. Okay. So we got our sketch. We have our concept file. We have our logo, Illustrator, PDF, business card, Illustrator, PDF, postcard, Illustrator, PDF, web ad, Photoshop, JPEG, presentation, InDesign, and PDF. And then this one is whatever it is. Okay, yeah, so that's what I'm looking for in total. So I know most of the class is done, if not with the logo portion already. If you have a little bit more to do on that, that's fine. Um, it's taken me an hour while rambling to do this video, so shouldn't be too hard to get the rest of this finished up. I will see you guys in class Thursday.